Over the past couple of months, I've been working through this Dragonlance Chronicles. These books I found in the boxes of books my papa had at his house. He was a big fantasy reader back in the 80s. So I have a lot of retro fantasy books to experience, and I had heard some good things about this series. My aunt said she was really enjoying them, so I decided to pick them up. I got through the entire first book and got this far in the second one, but I can't do it anymore. I can't finish reading it. There were some stuff that I liked in the Dragonlance Chronicles. I like that it's like the generic descendant of Tolkien, like Dungeons and Dragons. I like that setting very much. There's just something about it I enjoyed. And I really liked the characters. All the characters were well developed and interesting. My favorite was the Kinder Tasselhoff. He was very, I just liked it. But I couldn't finish it. The writing, at some parts, it was the prose itself. Because the story and the characters, I like those. Sometimes it was good. And then sometimes, and this was a lot, they tried the book, they took lots of inspiration from Tolkien. And they were trying, I think they were trying to write something like thoughtful, like Tolkien. But it failed. It just made pages on pages where they thought it was high quality literary prose, and it just fell flat and made me cringe. It's painful just thinking about it. Another problem with the Dragonlance Chronicles that I couldn't really bear is it's based off a Dungeons and Dragons rule set, and that's what gave it the really interesting world and setting, but it also gave it a problem, because every single fight action the characters did seemed to like a action in a video game, and it was obvious. I've only played D&D once, but whenever they started fighting, I could almost hear the dungeon master say, "Roll for initiative." So, I am going to stop reading the series. Which is perfectly okay. You might have thought this was going to be a mostly book review. Not really. I don't like being a downer on books, and other than that, it would have been a really short video because I don't have anything else to say. I'm not going to constantly poke out every single problem I had, but I'm just going to stop reading it. And that is okay. The thing is, you can stop, if you don't like a book, you can stop reading it whenever you want. If the book is for fun, and you're not having fun, you don't have to read it. Now, it is a different matter if, perhaps, you didn't give the book a fair chance. And then I would say it's not okay to stop reading. But then again, if you didn't give it a fair chance, you wouldn't be reading it for fun. I've seen reviews on YouTube or Twitter or whatever of this is why I did not finish Mistborn, or this is why I did not finish The Lord of the Rings, and they have giant lists of all the problems they found with it. You could say I'm slightly guilty because I mentioned a couple problems, but it's not like that. It's 20 or 30 minute videos on why they're not reading this thing, and it's if you're looking for the problems, clearly you're not reading for enjoyment. And for that, there's nothing to be done about those people, because they were reading for a different reason, and I think it's only really a good reason to stop reading a book if you're doing it for fun, because the purpose of reading a book for fun is to have fun, and if you're not having fun, what's the point of reading the book for fun? Now, there are other reasons you could read a book. If I had a nonfiction book, and I read a lot of nonfiction books, I read them for information, and while a really well-written nonfiction book is fun, or someone might think it's fun to learn history or science or whatever, the main purpose of reading that book isn't for fun. It's for knowledge. And if you're trying, and for that, I would say you can stop if you're not learning anything. Because the thing is, it's okay to stop reading a book sometimes. But there's other times in which you really should just go ahead and read it. Another example on picking up a book to read, not to enjoy, but to learn something, is probably one of the biggest talks about fantasy books, and that's The Lord of the Rings. Yes, we all know, reading The Lord of the Rings is hard. A lot of people get into it and bounce back so hard and stop reading it. It isn't fun. It's hard to get through the prose. It's slow. It's whatever. It's hard to read, and those are reasons to not read it if you're trying to have fun. But you could read The Lord of the Rings, and if I was thinking, I would have gotten my oh wait, it's right here. You could read this book for the purpose of enjoying, or you could also read it in order to teach yourself the definitive, no argument, biggest, most important work of fantasy in the decade, and in this past decade, and probably for more others. You could read it in order to figure out what heights fantasy can go. You could read it even for the philosophy, because this book is a literary work. It's not only just a story. It has something more in the substance that you can read and take lessons away and apply it to your own life. And I take great delight in reading my copy of The Lord of the Rings. I've read it for the past couple of years. I've read it through once every year. I haven't done it this year, though, but I hope I'll have time. But you could read it for that reason. That's part of the reason why I read hard books like mythologies or philosophy, like Socrates or Aristotle, is not only just for fun, and you can read for fun, but for the other things too.